He's right behind you.
Hi, I'm Avital Ash.
I'm Jessica Richards.
And this is...
He's right behind you.
Ah!
Hello.
And that's Alex Fernie.
You looked at me and it felt like, oh, I didn't prepare whatever comes after this.
You should have known
Yeah,
what to
I'm so
say.
sorry.
You blew it. And that's the end.
Yeah.
That was nice to have you while you were here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's nice to see this office.
You can see yourself out.
Okay.
Alex is a director, a writer, an improviser, an actor, right?
Yeah.
What do you say when people ask you what you do?
I normally say writer. Because it's what I most like and want to do.
Cool.
And saying director sounds pretentious. I don't think I would ever offer that up first because it sounds like I'm a director and I don't think of myself that way. I think of myself as someone who sometimes directs things.
It's so interesting because I remember this conversation years ago. I worked at Franklin and Company and you came in, and I think you're like the only person in the world that this has happened to, where you've sort of stumbled into being a director, where people just keep asking you to direct stuff.
Yeah, I fell into it because I wanted to, it came through when I worked at Funny or Die, and Funny or Die was chaos, and it was like I was hired as a writer, but if you wrote something and you didn't direct it, it almost never got made, so I had to kind of teach myself that.
Yeah.
And then I've grown to really like it and to enjoy it because it's challenging, but I don't think I would ever get to the point where it's like, oh, that's what I am, because it feels like I'm lying.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Are people jealous of you?
Maybe sometimes, I don't know. It's all but probably that's very obnoxious to people. But it's also like I tend to try to be very clear of like, oh, when I say I'm a director, I was like, if you watch, late night Adult Swim and streaming services that no longer exist, then you maybe have seen stuff I have done, which does like kind of form that opinion maybe. R.I.P. CISO.
Oh, there's so many dead ones.
There are so many.
Well, I
dead
still
ones.
watch Adult Swim late
Right.
at night, so I might have seen some
Yeah,
stuff.
Children's Hospital. Then you might have seen me.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
How many episodes of that have you directed?
I did. I think I did 6 episodes of Children's over the last 2 seasons.
Not a small number.
No, it's also very fun. That show is easy because it's very talented people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that show.
I haven't seen it, but it always looks really fun whenever I've seen like promo.
It's real
or-
goofy.
Yeah.
And I don't know when this comes out, but the spin-off is coming out on Netflix, and I saw some episodes. I had nothing to do with it. It's also very goofy and very, very funny.
Oh, that's great.
Medical police. Yeah.
Do you want anybody to know anything about you? Do you want anybody?
No, in general, in life,
Yeah,
no.
like your
I
social
prefer
security
not.
number.
Yeah.
Like, are you working on something that you want to tell people about, or?
No, not actually. Well, I've got a 1-year-old, and so I've been doing a lot of good baby time with my wife, which is great. So, and then I've just been kind of writing for stuff that hopefully someone will let me make. But it's been a lot of really cool baby time. So there's nothing
That's
to
great.
to
You're just
pitch right now.
promoting a human.
Yeah, she's great. You know what? She's in a few years, she'll probably be out there. You'll maybe get to know her. She'll be attending preschool.
Coming out in
Great.
2025.
Yeah, she's real good. She's got a crooked little smile. It's really cute.
Oh, are you like writing at home with her?
That's very hard at this point
Yeah.
because she doesn't stand for that. But so like it's been like my wife, Deborah, who's also a writer, like we kind of like trade off a little bit, and so I'll leave and go somewhere to do stuff. And sometimes if it's something like if I'm preparing a pitch, I can do that. If it's something I don't have to be like I need to focus for 3 hours. If I
Right.
can mind someone running up and just tapping me, then I
You
can do
don't.
that.
You don't need to focus hard for a pitch. Pitches are like the most stressful.
Then I already know it.
Yeah.
Then I've already done all the hard thinking. Like now I'm just organizing to a certain degree, so I can kind
Yeah.
of do that a little bit. And that's the stuff is the most fun to me. If like, I can just figure out stuff for this character to do, and I can do it in little bits.
Yeah.
But if I'm like sitting down and writing pages, then I need
Seems
it
like
to flow.
good practice, though, to have someone like keep interrupting you.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
when you're going and people are like on their phones or like
Yeah.
there's people coming in and stuff, you're like, I've got this.
Yeah.
I've been trained by a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
is
can handle
nothing.
You can't shake me.
distractions.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with horror?
It's like I like horror, but I'm not like I don't seek it out, right?
Yeah.
Like the way I normally describe it is like the type of horror I tend to like. I tend not to like mean horror, like so movies that are just sort of like, can you believe you're putting yourself through this? I'm like, I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
But then I really love like a movie we're going to talk about, and then like Carpenter, obviously, which has, to me, it's almost like when it kind of like welcomes you into the world, even as bad things are happening. I dig it, as opposed to like Eli Roth or whoever, I'm like, this is not fun
like
for me.
punishing.
Yeah, this is just like a dare. Watch this movie. Like I like the like long lingering threat type horror as opposed
Dread.
to the
And something more immersive.
Yeah, and I'm weird with gore. Like I like goofy gore, and then I have no interest in like again that sort of hostile. Like, oh, this is like a gore movie. I just don't. I just it's not even like I'm upset by. I'm just like there's other things.
I feel that way a little bit where, especially like doing this, where I'm being forced to watch some movies that like I spent years being like, cool, not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And even for this now, like I'll press mute or I'll make it tiny or I'll do things because I'm like, I've
the
got
screen like this big. I'm like,
I've got nothing to prove.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I can, like, watch it and appreciate stuff about it, but, like, it's not for me. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's never been for me, and lately in watching so many of them, because I didn't watch horror and I didn't like to be scared, there's more of a, oh, how did they do that? Like, when it's done really well and it's scary. And I don't like torture for the sake of torture, but we were just talking about Midsummer, and there's, like, someone's head getting bashed in, and it looks so real. And I'm like, how do they... And I've been able to put a distance now where I don't... Part of me is not going like that's real. Like I can separate it, but
something to horror where it almost is like the more of it you have to teach yourself how to like consume it almost.
Yeah.
It's like coffee. Like coffee tastes bad. You have to make a choice as a teen to be like, I'm gonna be a grown up and I'm gonna drink coffee, and you're like, this is awful, but grown ups do it, and then you're like, okay, well now I'm used to it and I understand it.
This makes so much sense to me. By
me
the
too.
way.
I'm like already going. This is our soundbite.
Because like what you're saying, I'm like, I don't feel that way at all. I can't distance myself and be like, how did they do that? And then you said the thing about coffee, and I was like, oh, I never learned to like coffee.
Yeah.
This adds up.
Yeah. It's like you have to learn those rhythms, and then you start to accept more, and then you can sometimes start to go, oh, cool, I get why that is. It's not as visceral a reaction, and you don't stop reacting to literally everything.
Right.
And then you start to go, okay, cool, I can sort of appreciate this. And there's still stuff, again, that like I just don't dig or I'm not into. But
well, it's interesting with something like Reanimator or something where it's over the top and people say it's like funny. I still have that reaction of just like, oh, too much blood. But there's the logical part of me that's going, I get why people like this.
Yeah.
And aren't actually afraid of it.
Yeah, it's like I think that too is almost like horror. Many people smarter than me have talked about this, but like the connection between horror and comedy and how they are similar, like biological responses,
right?
And they're all based on rhythm and the fulfillment of expectation or the denial of expectation is all that same sort of thing. And similar to comedy as well, there's like almost infinite genres within horror that there are in comedy that you just say, oh, I saw a comedy movie, I don't know what that means. And I think kind of that's true of horror too, like because Reanimator is so different than something like The Conjuring, which is so different than something that I think like Rosemary's Baby or Jaws.
Scream.
They feel so different. They're only linked together because they scare us.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
That's how because I always say like I love horror movies, and then when people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, there's like an asterisk next to it, which is I love slasher movies.
Yeah.
That's the kind of horror movies I like.
Right. And dramas are often scary.
Yeah.
You know, like with Ari Aster's movies in particular, I always find the scariest element is that just like dramatic component where you're like fear of losing family members or whatever. So it is kind of arbitrary that there's this like group of quote unquote horror where, like you said, they basically might as well be different genres altogether.
And there's that weird side thing then of like thriller too, which sometimes is like, well, I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about Follows, but like I'm a big lover of the movie The Guest, and that is like a thriller, but there's horror elements to it, but I wouldn't call it a horror movie. And I think it breaks down, and I think it is that we're biologically reacting to it in a way. But we've sectioned that off in a way that we don't like. We wouldn't be like, oh, this genre movie is movies where you cry, because there's just too much. But being scared is the same thing. Like Jurassic Park isn't a horror movie, but as a kid, I sat there and I was fucking terrified of parts of it. You know,
I count it like I'm very open with that on here, where she'll be like, "Is that a horror?" And
Jessica counts almost everything.
Almost every time I've said yes. I didn't say yes to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Somebody asked.
Yeah. That was where I crossed a line. I was like, no.
I mean, and I remember I've said this on here before, but an episode of Full House where somebody jumps out from under the bed and I ran out of the room. That's clearly not a horror.
As a kid, there's an episode, and I remember very little of it, of Punky Brewster, where they get trapped in a cave that fucked me up for years.
I think somebody sent me a clip of it.
Yeah, and there's like someone stuck in a wall.
Yes.
And it's fucking scary as hell. And it's Punky Brewster. Like, there's no business to being scared of Punky Brewster. And it really, it was like a Halloween episode. And I think it was probably at the end, it's like, it's all a dream. There's no one in the wall. But it doesn't matter as a kid.
Right,
like, that
it
still
stays with
scared you and still burrowed its way in where I'm 38 years old. And I remember that episode that I saw in, I don't even know when, 1990?
I wonder who directed that episode and what they're doing now, or wrote it. That's the other thing, is you don't really know who's responsible for your nightmares.
Someone years ago just cashed a check on Punky Brewster. It's like, I don't know, the wall, there's a person in the wall. And now I'm like, yeah, it fucked me up, and I'm still thinking about it.
So what scares you now as an adult?
The things I'm actually afraid of in the real world are I don't like snakes, but that's common, and I'm very afraid of boats. I don't like going on boats.
Wow.
But it's just.
Have you ever been on a boat?
Yeah, I've been on boats. Don't enjoy it. If I can see the bottom, it's not a problem to me. And like I've done like snorkeling where the boat takes you out, and I don't love it. But the idea of going on a cruise is.
I agree.
Mortifying.
It triggers your agoraphobia and claustrophobia.
It's like everything.
Yeah.
Strangers, being trapped with strangers, I don't like.
What do you mean if you can see the bottom? Like I know there's those glass bottom boats sometimes, but you can't see all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, like if you go like I'm trying, like I've gone snorkeling a few times, like in Hawaii or whatever, where the water's so clear and I can see the bottom of the water and I can see like whatever's down there. I don't get scared. So it's probably less the actual boat than the dark water below me.
So you're not afraid in the water though, generally?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm sure I could get there, but I think it's just boats make. I think the sequence of events that would get me in the water when I'm on a boat starts to run through my mind. It's not even like I'm consciously afraid like the boat might sink and I might drown. It's just sort of being like, what's making this boat float? Where am I going? What happens if something goes wrong? Like I just start to panic and I start to have my my anxiety rises up.
And what about snakes? Are you ever around them?
Not any. I mean, ideally, no.
Like on a shoot or anything.
They were.
Ever had to be?
I grew up on a farm, and there were a lot of snakes around in New Hampshire, and just like little garter snakes, harmless little guys. But it was an old farmhouse, and like they kind of lived in the foundation too of the house, and that was pretty creepy. And I just developed this fear of them. The only time I've encountered them on a shoot was I did this pilot for Comedy Central years ago, and I was in it with these guys I write and perform with, and I was like, it was like a Reno 911 style thing, but for at the time those shows like Survivor Man were on. And it was like that was the bit. And I was like the sort of like the scientist character because I'm tall and was skinny and had glasses. And there's a part where I was like talking about animals you might encounter in the jungle, and I was in this actual like room filled with all these animals in terrariums. And there was a ton of snakes, including a rattlesnake that they had.
Ooh,
and to shoot it, I had to find the one spot where I could stand where it wouldn't rattle. Because anywhere I go, it would see you, and it would do this thing.
You have to be like out of its peripheral.
And, I guess so. And like that's like a biological. You feel it, like you feel it in the back of your neck. The sound is horrible. And if you were to watch this pilot, this thing where I'm like doing a 2 camera, is I am just not moving. Like my shoulders are next to my ears, and I'm just going. And today we're going, and I'm just barreling through what I have to say so fucking stiffly because, like, literally, if I leaned, it would go.
And horrible. Is it like, this is a problem for sound, or like this is a problem for Alex?
It was a problem for Alex. Sound it was great. They would have loved it because it was like you could see all these snakes. There's like a cobra with its hood out.
Yeah.
You could see them. It's like this is like high production value, and I'm doing everything I can to be like, please don't let that rattlesnake. I know it's watching me because when I move, it rattles. Like it's thinking about me. There's other crew in here, but I'm the one triggering it. Felt very bad.
Yeah.
I hate that. We've done that when we're like hiking in Griffith Park and you hear the rattle, and every time I've been like, cool, I'm gonna go back to the car.
Yeah.
This is nature saying you've gone too far.
Yeah.
And that's the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not much of a nature person.
Is there an image, and maybe it's Punky Brewster, maybe it's something else, an image either from a movie, a show, something you imagined from reading a book, something from dreams, nightmares that's like scared you the most, or something you've seen?
There's I guess there's two. One is a kid, like when I was like 10 or 11, I saw the first Night of the Living Dead on like my birthday, like an uncle showed it to me. And I got all the way through with it and it was no problem. And the thing that got me, and I had nightmares into my 20s, and I had seen it again and had it not seen, but it just subconsciously got me so bad, was just the ending when he peeks over the window and gets shot in the head. And the ending, and the bleak ending got into my DNA for years. I remember being in my dorm room in college and waking up in a sweat because I had a nightmare about this movie I saw when I was 10.
Were the nightmares like you're the one getting shot in the head, or you're just seeing it?
It was almost like, from what I can remember, just being like in that farmhouse and in that world. So it wasn't really about zombies, and it was just this feeling of it doesn't matter. The bad things happening. Like, that was what got into me. So, like, that became, which I think is probably also something all humans battle with a little bit of, like, well, but what if it doesn't matter if I do what I need to do?
Well, what makes that movie so good?
Yeah, and it's so, like, it's such a good movie, and, I mean, it just destroyed me. And then as an adult, probably like the most scared I've been in a movie. I wouldn't even say I like the movie. I think it's good, but I don't think I like it. Is I went to see The Strangers when it came out, and there's a shot in that that's so perfect, where there's a couple. There's one where Liv Tyler's like in the foreground, and that sack-faced guy just crosses behind her out of focus, and there's another moment where she's in the foreground. I think she's on the phone or something, and they knock on the door, and her neck tenses in a way that I'm like, that's the best acting I've ever seen. I don't know how to make my neck do that. And like that scared, like I think about that all the time. I saw that as early when I started, when I was dating my wife, like very early on. We went to go see it, and we still talk about it because she doesn't like scary movies very much.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I've read about it, and it just reading about it scared the shit out of me.
It's very scary.
And just like the poster.
To me, that's like a no fun scary.
It's not fun. And then the ending has a Night of the Living
like
Dead.
Funny games. Type.
Yeah, it's just sort of like
but it's not funny.
Hopeless.
It's not funny.
Games are not funny.
Yeah. But like in funny games where you're just like, oh, this
But that's
feels
even
bad.
more hopeful than this.
Oh, wow.
The line at the end, unless you don't want me to spoil one line at the end of the movie. And I
You
won't.
can spoil the
at the end of the movie. So like, it's really like people are dead, and there's a bit where the intruders like kind of get the people who are kind of defending against them to accidentally kill their neighbor, and then they make them like watch while they stab this guy, and she says, why are you doing this? And they just say, because you were home.
I
and
remember
like that,
from the
goddamn, like that is like,
I don't remember from the trailer. I remember reading it, and that was
it's bad, and it's just like a Manson. It's Manson. Like that's just what they're doing.
Right.
And
I remember
think
that from the trailer and being like, why would you put that in the trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you give it
the
away.
movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, in the movie, because of what comes after and what you like sit through is like, it is masterfully done in how fucking awful it is to experience.
Yeah, home invasion and like torture stuff is always what scared me the most.
'Cause it's not fun to me. It's like I like, even, it doesn't have to be supernatural, right? It doesn't have to be an alien or what. Like Michael Myers became supernatural, but in the first one, he's mainly just a dude stabbing people. And like, but I think Halloween is fun. Like, you know, it's a fun movie.
It's my favorite scary movie.
And part of it's Carpenter. It's Carpenter. So you're like, yeah, of course this is.
He's great, and she's great.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I can't go on enough about it. I love it.
This will probably cut, but just out of curiosity, have you seen The Mist too?
Yes.
Did you have that same sense of like
at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, until the end. Like I think I was like, I remember seeing with that Alex Berg, and I was really like enjoying it. I was like, great, yeah, and like, oh, okay, I get it. It's all the people, and then the ending, I was like, well, all right, like that sucked something out of me. Yeah,
It's so bleak.
It's so goddamn bleak.
Yeah.
That ending, and I was like, oh, yeah, I get it, and it does make sense. But then I started going back. I was like, they had to do so many things to make that ending like they're going like, okay, we know how bleak. I feel like King had to start with, this is how this ends,
but he didn't,
because he never does, right? He just
Well,
especially back then.
And
he
the
just
book didn't
blew
end
a
that
bunch
way.
of cocaine. Oh no,
the movie did.
end?
The book is like
the
they're
book
leaving
ends a few minutes
hotel.
before that
And they
happens.
get
So it's like
signal.
they're just driving off.
So Darabont was just like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just tack this on to the
And
end.
it's
I
like
didn't
more
know that.
definitive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I really liked it, but it is totally bleak.
Oh yeah.
All right, I think we can move into It Follows. Do you have
Okay.
any questions for Alex?
Oh, I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Great.
I am really excited, and I'm going to start off by saying that I am really eager to hear what you guys have to say, because I think you're very funny. I've seen you perform, and I think this is like a beautifully shot movie, well acted. The score's incredible, and I just cannot get on board with the story. I saw it in theaters. I really wanted to like it, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll like it more the second time, and I think I liked it less. And so I'm ready for you guys.
Well, we never agree on a movie.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
very rare.
It's true.
So whenever I watch something and I like it, I'm like, oh, she hates this. She probably hates what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
How it looks and the tone. And the story always, I'm like, I don't understand the rules of this world. There are so many gaps to me that don't make sense. And so we'll get into it.
Yeah. Part of it that I do love this movie. Like, I really like, I watched it again last night and I hadn't seen it in a few years. And I was like, oh yeah, this movie just like gets into me right away. And I think part of, if you read what he was kind of doing, like it was like one of those, it came from a dream, which helps me with some of the dream logic stuff. But I remember the first time I saw it, the first time that the book she's reading, The Idiot, on that little clamshell thing.
I know, it was like, it looks like birth control, but it's like a Kindle shaped like a clam.
And I think that was the moment the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, got it. This isn't our world. And I just went, I can't expect rules to necessarily line up, because they're not going to explain that fucking thing. They're not going to explain why the technology in the cars are 30 years old, but it's clearly now post
well, it's like every
collapse.
character's in a different decade.
Yeah.
So like one character
cool.
will have like an old car with an old phone, and another character will have a new car with a new phone. And there's stuff, that's part of what I really love about this movie, is like the dreaminess feeling of it.
I like that too, and I don't mind every character being in a feeling like what time is this? Because it does feel dreamlike, and I'm into it. My problems weirdly are like, why the idiot? The idiot is like somebody who's good natured and gets mistaken for a dummy. It's like the reverse of Chauncey Gardner, and that's like not this movie.
I think the idiot is just to set up her final reading of it in the hospital,
which I feel too, and it bothered me because I'm like, this is not like a deeper meaning.
No,
this is
it's
like
just for that one quote. Yep.
Yeah.
He had that. I think he had that one quote. He also doesn't like. Mitchell doesn't like. In the interviews I've read with him about it, like kind of refuses to like pin it down, and I think probably purposefully. I like this, is I don't think he has a lot of it defined necessarily. Right. He was like, this is what it means. I bet push comes to shove, he's like, hey, no, this is, I wrote this, and this is just what it is. And he does a lot of like, well, you can see that any way you want. You can go that any way you want. And I always tend to like dig that. Like I am always kind of, I like...
you like the spinning top at the end of Inception.
Yeah, and I like to just that there's no right in, like it's it doesn't matter. I hate those internet brings out so much of just sort of like, oh, this is the hidden meaning, of being like, I think normally the intended meaning is less interesting than the received meaning.
I agree, but I like there to be an intended meaning, even if it's left open, and I don't feel like he knows what he's trying to do.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
This is where we disagree on things, because like usually if there's a movie that's like, I have to go and do a lot of research because I get it's an allegory. I don't know what it's an allegory on. I have to like really, then I don't like that. Mm-hmm. Because I want to be able to enjoy something on face value. And then if I get something deeper, I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel like, okay, I didn't get it. And because I didn't get it, I have to do a bunch of research to be like, you're so smart. And I did, what do I know? I just went to film school.
I didn't finish The Idiot, but I did read the first like half or 3/4.
I've never read The Idiot.
So it's fun to me to be like, I get that reference, and then be like, no. Why? Yeah. And then it does feel like, oh, exactly what you said. Like you're just trying to set up a quote. And my main thing, which is jumping to the end, and I want to go through semi-chronologically, but the main thing is you see them shoot. Okay, so the premise is basically like a walking STD. Yeah. You contract something, somebody follows you, and they won't stop until they kill you, starting with the last person you've passed it on to.
It's like a chain letter.
Yeah. Exactly.
But which I hate, by the way. Brad's aunt needs to stop sending me chain letters on Facebook.
Hopefully she's listening.
What is happening?
And
like,
she knows.
I feel like there's a certain demographic of age where people on Facebook are sending me, it's like all aunts and stuff keep sending me things where it's like, oh, like this and resend to 7 other people.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for that.
I was really hoping before you said Facebook that you were still somehow receiving chain letters, like it was like 1970. I'm like, geez, how's that happening?
I remember when I first got an email. That's all people would do is send me chain letters, and it was like,
You'll
if
be
you
cursed
don't,
if you don't.
Don't
I remember
do that.
Hey,
which is why it's so funny when it's like aunts and stuff or grandparents, because I'm like, this was a thing we believed at 14.
Yeah.
What are you doing at 70?
The circle of internet life.
Yeah, exactly. But we have scenes where they fight back against these like mysterious followers, people that follow them, not followers like in the Instagram way. Yeah. And we see them get shot, and it does not deter them.
Right.
And then at the very end, a shot seems to fill a whole pool with blood, and that's where I'm like, all right, what are the rules to this universe? And
there's also like, it doesn't necessarily about like, it's always moving, but sometimes he's going to go with the image of a weird creepy naked dude on a roof just standing and watching.
That was the one to me that didn't add up.
Yeah.
I don't have like the stuff with the end. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. I don't quite get it, but then when I was reading about it, the guy was like, it's supposed to not really make sense because like they don't know what they're doing either.
See, to me, it's supposed to not make sense is the same as being like, it's supposed to not be good. Like, I don't think that's...
I think that's what he's saying, though. It's like...
I don't think he's saying it's not supposed to be good.
Well, he's saying, like, they're supposed to make mistakes. These are just a bunch of kids that don't have... What I was reading was he was like, I hate in movies where they get that one nugget of information, and they're like, oh, I found the weak spot, and then, like, now I know how to kill you. And he's like, the point I was trying to make was that they don't get that nugget, so they're really just guessing, and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know if it works, and you as the audience don't know if it works.
And they never explain whatever it is, and like I think part of that last blood shot, which I also think is partially just sort of like, okay, I want to do this effect.
Right, it looks great.
It looks great. Was, I think, like, there's the element where if you watch it, like, whatever it is also actively trying to scare them based on the forms it takes sometimes. Like, at the end when it comes back as her dad, like, that's purposeful to scare this girl. So that's how I interpret
Wait, when does it come back as her dad?
The one that's
in
throwing the
pool.
things in the pool is her dad.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why when the sister's like,
they're
what
way
does
too
it
subtle
look
with it.
like? She's like, I'm not telling you.
Yeah, she
that's
won't
cool.
tell
I
the
didn't catch
sister.
that. I
Yeah,
couldn't
because you
tell
see
that
him
was-
in pictures.
Right.
And then he shows up. And then the blood to me is going like, I interpret, and again, like he won't say what it is because I think he's like, do it your own way. But the way I interpret that is just sort of be like, this is just another way to scare her, to terrify her. And that last shot is being like, they know that they didn't stop it.
So then why do they stop it even temporarily? Because everything we've seen before is like, it just keeps going.
It just keeps going. Yeah. Well, I think because we don't see them leave there; they just leave. And I think that's kind of. I think she or they know that it's just going to keep coming. This bad plan didn't work.
Which is why they all keep having sex.
And also, to me, like I know you said you wanted to go chronologically, but.
We're already
yeah. And I think I think I'm talking about this because of my response to your Facebook post. But you have been like, what's like romantic a horror movie? And like, it's a stretch to say this movie is romantic, right? Because it has kind of like very cynical angles on like sex and relationships. I think them being teens makes it like, we can talk about that. I think there's like very accurate representations of just like, the ways teens kind of interact and like teen horniness in a way you don't see a lot of horror. It's not like they're all fucking all the time. They're just kind of like uncomfortable around each other, and you can tell they're all just thinking about it all the time. And I'm like, hey, I buy that.
Yeah.
But then the reason I think I come away from this movie, again, not thinking it's mean and digging it a lot, is that last shot where you don't know if the person in the background is it or if it's just somebody. And one way I like to look at it, I don't think is the right way, but the way I like to look at it is, you got a lot of press when it came out. It was like, oh, it's STD. And to me, it's more of being like just dealing with the fact that we're all going to die. You can't stop it. Maybe you can hold it off. There's nothing you can do.
That's like the quote at the end.
Yeah, that's what they say.
For
That's
you.
what they lay out. It's coming for you. It is coming. I don't think it's a coincidence that these are characters that are, yes, horror movie trope age, but also about the age you start to understand the finiteness of life.
Yeah.
And this thing will come and get you, and the only kind of relief from that is to not face that alone. And I think there's a very like sweet kind of almost saccharine version of that, and I think there's kind of a sad, tragic version of that, and I think that ending kind of has both, because they're holding hands and you're like, is this nice that these two ended up together? Does she like him in that way? You know what I mean? Like, what is this?
Well, it's definitely a choice because the Hugh or whatever his Hugh Jeff.
Yeah.
He says we shouldn't be together. Yeah. Like, not in a romantic way, but like in a literal way.
Right.
You shouldn't
kill
be
one
near
or the
me.
other.
Yeah, kind of like, I'm going to do this to you, and then like you have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And like at the end, they're going against that and being like, we are both infected and we're going to stay together.
And I think I think also too, I think it's because it's nice with the two and the framing and everything, but like I think even with the old, the sister and the other friend whose name escapes me, like
Yara.
that. Yara.
I only know because I kept pressing pause and it would pop up on my Amazon, and I was like, "Oh, I'm learning everybody's name this way."
Like I think there's like a platonic version of that too, of like just not facing that thing alone. That like they're gonna walk down the street and they're gonna hold hands, and something is coming for them, and it will get them both, and it'll get one of them, and then it will get the other one. And to me, like something just kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, that is a kind of a unexpected place for me for this horror movie to kind of like drop me off at the end, especially one that I think is so. He's being pretty flashy throughout that whole movie with his rotating cameras and his a slow 70s zooms and stuff.
I love when they're driving on like any of the driving POV shots. I love.
Yeah,
I can get on board with that, trying to outrun death and then sort of the acceptance of the inevitable. And what I didn't like, although I feel like maybe I talked myself out of it listening to you talk, I was like, but it doesn't kick in the same way the awareness of mortality would kick in for anybody. It is so tied to sex, which is like that sort of the STD argument. It's like, but whether or not you die a virgin, like you're gonna die. It's coming for all of us, whether we fuck or we don't. But then I think that maybe there's an argument to be made, like you were saying, we're all going to die, but the only way to sort of cope is to be in it together with someone. Yeah. And then the much more, what's the word I want? Like hedonistic, for lack of a better word, is we're all going to die, so we might as well fuck in the meanwhile. And maybe there's like some sort of weird implication that like they are all going to die. You just see it more vividly.
But also like the idea that when you have sex, you start to become an adult.
Yep.
That it's like, like later when they have sex and she's like, do you feel different? That whole part I think is interesting because there is that thing put upon sex of like that it does somehow make you different once you've had sex, and like that they're both like, I don't feel different. I mean, they're both not virgins, but it's like that same idea of like, we've done this thing.
I
think you feel different?
That the Greg character is pretty important to that in like my whole viewing. And again, like this is just like how I interpret it and how I like to watch it. Like it might be so fucking far off from what they intended, and I don't really care. It's how I watch it and I interpret it. But like I think the Greg character who gets fucked to death by his mom. But like I think that is an important element of that because he's an outsider and he's not part of them, and they kind of like view him like it seems like there's heavy implication that he's an asshole.
Right.
And
he doesn't believe them.
And he very much comes over, and it really seems like he is preying. Like on Micah Monroe or the fan, and like there's the interactions with the sister. There's something gross happening here.
Wait, what's the interaction with the sister?
They just have there's all these
there's
looks.
a point where he checks out.
Yeah,
Yara.
he checks them all out, and like he's just there's just something that they never really underline, but they're just like, this isn't this friend group. Even with the awkward like, you were my first kiss, I know, like that sort of stuff, which is played honestly kind of like real to me in a way of being like, this isn't sort of like emotional thing. We can talk about this. It's uncomfortable and weird, but we're teens. We don't know what to do with. Greg is something different. Yeah. And the way they have sex is different. Like where it feels very like it's in the hospital and it's and it feels very transactional, and she's like looking away and it feels bad, and it doesn't fucking help.
And there's some flashback to, it seems like they're in high school maybe, or they're in like a school cafeteria, and he's like whispering to some other girl. Yeah. And what I take away, and again, don't know if this is the intention, is that they had sex, he sort of blew her off, and the next day she's seeing him, whisper.
That's how I interpret it.
He says something about that. They both have lines throughout.
Yeah.
Where he says something where he's like, I should have been nicer.
Yeah.
And then when Paul later is like, why didn't you pick me? I would have had sex with you. She's like, well, I'd already had sex with him. It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that is like, and he dies and it doesn't fix anything. And then to me, again, with that sort of like, you have to confront this thing together. They didn't. They just fucked. And again, like, I don't think the movie even like judges that of just being like, sure, yeah, sometimes you just want to fuck. But I think that.
You don't think it judges that even though they kill him?
I mean, like that by his mom, which is the most like horror. I hate that part.
Horrifying.
I think they're judging him. I don't think they're necessarily judging her choice to do that sort of thing. And then I think they come back around at the end and going like, we're not saying that like sex and this togetherness are the same thing. I think they can exist separately. And then I think at the end with Paul, and there is part of it might be in the casting, where I'm just sort of like, I don't know
I love
about Paul and Micah Monroe.
Because she's just such a smoke show, you mean?
Yeah, and then Paul, and like the way Keir Gilchrist plays that, I really like the way he plays that, and I buy it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, again, like knowing that it was like a straight white dude who did it, I was like, I'm always kind of going like, are you
Paul?
Are you really being like, boy, if I was Paul, wouldn't that be great?
That's how the nerd gets the girl. Is he has to
they have to
sign on for
survive.
death.
Yeah. There's always that voice mechanism. But I think that is the difference at the end of being like, no, like they have been friends for a long time, and they can talk about it, and there is a togetherness there that there isn't with Greg, and
a sweetness,
and the sweetness, and with Yara and with Kelly, with the sister too, or that like group, like they do look out for each other, and like there is that even when they're doubting her, they fucking support the hell out of her, and it's something that I also just think in general you don't see that much in horror movies.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I love that, where everybody believes her except for one person.
Yeah.
Where usually it's like no one believes you except maybe one person.
And they are like, you buy that they kind of care about each other in a way.
But part of it is seeing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The fact that they see Hugh Jeff drop her off in the road.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That horrible scene.
Yeah.
And then they see the beach stuff, which he's off peeing, and he doesn't see any of it.
Yeah.
The hair going up is such a
it's so good.
such a fucking easy. I remember the first time I saw it going, motherfucker, that's so easy and so good.
Easy how?
Just like it's such a effect that I'm shocked isn't used all the time, just to convey that there's someone there coming up, and like that's not like a gazillion-dollar effect. You know what?
Do you know how they do it?
If they didn't, they might have done it with wire. Honestly, it might have been as simple as that, or it might be an animation. But it only cost $2 million, I think, to make that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's at like 1.3 million.
Yeah,
is the budget.
And I think probably they just had a fucking C-stand above her, and just put something in her hair, and
that's
lifted
what
it
I
up.
love about this movie so much is it's so simple. Everything about it is so simple. The idea of like the monster is something that nobody else can see.
Yeah.
And I love the scenes that they include that in there of like, especially in the beginning, the girl running, Annie, which is a Carpenter thing to Annie from Halloween, that she's running around and we don't see, and everyone's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And that whole thing, and we don't know, we're not on board yet. We're one of the watchers. And then we see it with Hugh at the movie theater, which I think is my favorite part of that whole thing, where he's like, that girl, and then freaks out and is like, I don't feel good. We gotta go.
And when he's wrong, when he does it to that lacrosse or like the field hockey
that's
player,
so
it's such a
funny.
funny
Do you
moment.
see that person?
Like,
You're
and
like,
then she just looks at him, you're like, huh,
And the
okay,
music
cool.
drops.
Yeah.
As soon as they're like, yeah.
See, I love the first. Is it the first like two scenes? So first the girl on the beach, like her running around.
Yep.
Although she goes into the house for a second, and I'm like, change out of those heels. Why are you running around in
I
heels?
did write. I don't understand the heels because she doesn't seem comfortable in them.
No.
The heels
Just go
seem crazy.
barefoot.
Yeah.
It's a strange choice.
I mean, so I love that, and then the beach, but then by the time the movie's over, it doesn't make sense in a way that I want it to, which is like, why are you going somewhere where you're all alone? Well, and just basically waiting to die?
Yeah, because I think she gives up.
She gives up,
Because she doesn't have friends with her. She's all alone.
And she
To
makes
your point
she
of-
makes the point of having to apologize to her dad.
Right.
That
Sorry.
phone call, which
I
is
love you. I love
very
you so
sad. I love
much.
you. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm such a shit to you. Which is
Yeah.
fucking awful to hear. It's so
Heartbreaking.
like in any movie, I don't want to hear that because it's so
Right.
sad. Of
And
just
the
being like,
reverse
we all felt like
shot
that.
where you just
Yeah.
see her car with all the lights on and we don't see anything, but
Yep.
it's like so clear that it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it holds on it for so
Yeah.
long. Of like, it's almost like I can imagine after seeing it and then rewatching the scene, you're like, I can imagine it coming now.
Yeah.
And I also to what you're saying, like a lot of people I know like had that like, what are the rules here? And I think it is one of those things where, I think for whatever reason, all art does is like sometimes you're just willing to go, huh.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
And it's
and
such a
how it hits
personal
you.
thing.
Yeah, it's such
Right.
a person, and there's no rhyme or reason to why. Like, there are things about it I can point to that I know I'm going to be into. 2014, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Like that score, like that honestly
amazing.
got aped by like Stranger Things. Like,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people who kind of like have
That
done
score
that
is
since.
amazing.
It's killer, and like
Oh,
it
yeah.
steals a little bit from the Entity and stuff, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It sets the whole tone.
Yeah, it really does.
And the look of it, and like this
It's
weird
like reverby, feedbacky kind of pulse or heartbeat or
and that and it's just driving, and it like really
Yeah.
sells this like, hey, it's coming and you aren't going to stop it. But then every now and then when they first go to that pool, that I guess theme, if you want to call it that, do 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 comes in, and like suddenly you're getting melody in it is such a weird, it's almost triumphant.
Yeah.
And that sort of like dreamy way it's shot, and I think Micah Monroe, I don't know if that's how you say her name, is
That sounds right.
such a good genre actor.
Yeah.
Like, she's great in this. She's great in The Guest.
I need to see
She
The
was
Guest.
great in Villains, which came out this year, which is really fun. And it was
No,
like
I
tiny. And I randomly saw the Alamo Draft House, and it's basically her and Bill Skarsgård are two people, and they rob a convenience store, and they're driving down the road, and their car runs out of gas, and they're like two like idiots who rob, like, oh fuck, and they find a house, and they break in, and it's Keira Sedgwick and I forget the actor's name. It's their house, and they seem like a nice couple, and then they turn out to be lunatics.
Sounds good.
Who trap them, and it's like one of those ones. It's just simple and fun and like funny.
I do love like a simple, contained story.
And she's totally different in that. She's like kind of more boisterous and loud. Like in this and The Guest, she's a little more like sullen
Subdued,
teen.
yeah.
But
I
do
love
see The Guest.
how
The Guest
subdued
is,
she is in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Like, I just love her character, and normally, like, I like more talky characters, which has come up a lot, where I'm like, they weren't talking enough for me to identify with them. But I just like her right away, especially with the line that I think Yara says, where she's like, your sister's so pretty, it's annoying.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you kind of feel that she feels it's annoying, like, everyone just thinks I'm pretty, because she goes on all these dates, but she's like, Paul, like, why haven't you talked to me or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you
Yeah.
sleep over here anymore? And
There's that shot again. He does all these like.
Wait, he says he never sleeps over anymore, and she's like, "Well, there's a reason for that," which I
Yeah.
assume means hormones, and
Yeah.
but I don't know for sure.
And I love that they talk that way. You know,
Yeah.
because it feels like so much like adults making a movie about teens becomes like adult thinking this is how I would act as a teen, right?
Right.
And I think like the ways to get around that is either you like
Consult with a teenager.
yeah, just be around them,
Right.
or or do like Ryan Johnson's Brick and be like,
Right.
it's not, it's
love
fucking
that.
its own thing. I love
Yeah.
it. But in this, I was like those conversations where they talk about, yeah, well, you kissed my sister, and it's just sort of and like
You feel like a teenager
Ah,
watching that
it
scene.
brings those feelings of just
Yeah.
being like not even knowing what you can't say
Yeah.
and having this conversation because you're friends and you're around. Like it really feels real to me. And again, like I said before, like their level of horniness feels so
Palpable.
authentic,
Yeah.
where it's all around them, but
Yeah.
they're not. Because and again, like that's probably me projecting my teenage years out, but like that is something that's not like a lot of horror movies where it's like the parents aren't around, the teens are going to fuck all the time. It's like,
Right.
no, the parents aren't around, they're going to sit on the porch and just think
about
about
it.
touching briefly. Like, and then like, yeah, fuck, yeah.
I love that, and I love that scene also because it does tie in thematically, which again highlights my annoyance with the idiot being
Yeah.
shoved in. Because that is like, they're talking about formative sexual experiences in the midst of this additionally formative sexual experience for her that's like terrorizing
Yeah.
her and ruining her life. And the contrast of the two, I
also,
think, is
that
fun.
sexual experience, I think, is so interesting because she has consensual sex
Mm-hmm.
with Hugh Jeff, whatever his name is.
He tells her his name is Hugh, and then later we find out his name is Jeff.
You can pick
Yeah.
any name in the world, you pick Hugh. It's so
I
insane.
know, it's such a strange name to pick. And they have consensual sex, and I like that it's shot in a way that they're both sitting up. He's not on top of her, she's not on top of him. It's like it's like as equal as you can be with sex.
Yeah.
And then he chloroforms her.
Yeah.
And then he does this whole thing where he doesn't really do anything. So then when the police come later, they're like, we don't really know what we're questioning. What's
Yeah.
the crime?
Right.
And then later they one of the sisters calls it sexual assault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed that too. And,
And
that
I
was so
thought all of that
interesting.
was interesting about like what exactly does happen, because we all agree that like he chloroforms her
Yeah.
and then he
I
ties
don't
her
know if
up.
she says
and-
sexual assault, or I think she just says assault because she
Yeah.
is
Does she say
tied
that?
up. Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
All of the kind of
I know. I like that they're
trickiness
not
of it.
sort of vilifying. Like the fact that she has sex consensually to me is like more of not vilifying sexuality,
Yeah.
even though it could be because then she's punished. But it's like, and also that he has his own code of ethics.
Yeah.
he's
That's
fine to
fucked
put
up
her
and
in.
flawed, but
yeah.
And it is like, I think that is like, there's a really horrible version of this movie to be made, and where it is she is punished for having sex, right?
Yeah.
And I remember hearing it being like, "Ooh boy, this
Yeah.
seems like it's going to be a movie where people and this very pretty young woman is the lead, and she's going to be punished for having sex." And I
Yeah.
think that might have been why the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh wait, this isn't what I thought it was." Yeah, and something I'd never thought, but you just
The sex?
mentioned that too. The sex is
Yeah,
like, oh
I
yeah,
hadn't
they
thought
are
about it either.
both sitting up in that first one, and when she has sex with Greg, he's on top and she's passive, and when she has sex with Paul, she's on top of
Yeah.
him.
I noticed the same the second two, but I never thought of the first
yeah,
one.
me neither.
It's almost like she starts kind of as an equal
Yeah.
loses her power.
And then gains it.
Yeah.
Like, that's really interesting that I had never really thought about. And again, I think, I would say this no matter what movie we're talking about, but I think the director of this particularly promotes it, but I would go like, yeah, and I don't know if it's very likely that wasn't intended at all, the way movies get made. It's just, I don't know, we want to mix it up, but it doesn't matter because the finished thing says something whether or not you intend it to, and I think that's interesting.
See, and that's digging for deeper meaning, which you said you hate, but I like it.
It's not that I hate it. I just get annoyed if I, like when I saw Mother, with the exclamation point. And then afterwards I was like, I know it means something. I don't know what. Because I wasn't religious, so I didn't get it. But what I was going to say is I also love in that opening scene, or one of the opening scenes, where right in between the sex and the chloroform, when she's like playing with the weed on the ground, and she's talking about like when I was a kid, I thought dating, like what it would be like. And then him at the movie theater, like who you want to trade places with, he picks a kid because it's like your whole life is behind you. There's like this
ahead of you. Tell your daughter that.
Right.
Yeah,
Your whole life is behind you. You're 17 months. But this whole idea that's tied to when, like, with sex comes a loss of innocence.
Right.
And, like, now you're an adult, whether you are ready for it or not, because it's an adult thing to do is to have sex.
Well, and I love, that she's like, or at least this is how you said it. I don't remember if she exactly says this, but when I was a kid, I thought dating, and to us, it's like, you're still a kid.
Yeah.
That funny thing of like talking about, well, now that I'm adult, because I've
17
had
or 18
sex.
years old, and you're like, well, I can see the world as it is now. Yeah.
Another thing, again, maybe just wanting more meaning that's not there, is there's an ad in the theater lobby for Charade, and I love Charade.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where's that gonna?
I think that's what they were seeing.
There was.
Oh,
They were seeing Charade.
But also, they only watch old movies, which
Right.
is baffling. Like because they
Killer-
go see Charade, and then on the TV, it's like
Killers from Space.
it's all this old stuff, and that is that sort of like weird dreaminess of being like, what is this world? Like this is 2014 Detroit. They show a lot of burned out houses,
Right.
but then also they are not living in. It is not our world. I think probably too that was a little bit of him, of the movie going like, I want to have my cake and eat it too, which if I'm locked in, I'm fine. If I'm not, then I'm like, fuck you, movie. Of being like, I'm going to set this up as not so that no one thinks this is how kids, they're not going to see Charade all the time and reading The Idiot on birth control.
Well, and I love when they're in line for the movie. One of my favorite lines of the whole movie is when she's like, when my sister and I are bored, we always play this game. And he goes, you're bored?
Yeah.
Like, he can't believe that waiting in line with him on this date is boring. And it's like, of course it's boring. You're not talking. But it's that, like, awkwardness of, like, a first date, and it's not going super well, and they're, like, not compatible.
They also, I think, nail the scumbag look of him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where... Like, because I get the implication he's a little bit older than her.
Yeah.
Not a ton, but like a little bit older.
He looks a lot older than everybody else.
Yeah, and he's got that horrible chin strap beard, and it feels to me, again, like I grew up in New Hampshire and Rhode Island a little bit, and in New Hampshire, dudes who looked like that were like the hotter older men to people, and now I'm like, fuck, what a bummer, you know. And it is in the styling, because he seems like a normal to attractive looking guy, but they give him this bad facial hair and this bad hair.
Maybe he's just a really good actor, because I fully am like, nope, he chose that. He looks that way.
Yeah, just day to day, that's how he's doing it.
Yeah, I don't like it. She reminds me so much of the former Mrs. Ben Stiller.
Oh, Christine Taylor?
Yeah, Christine Taylor. And there's like a funny thing to me of that, like, cheerleader, like Marsha type, that I always, like, as a Jew growing up around a bunch of other Jews, like, don't get and kind of get lost in. It's so, like, foreign and exciting to me. And then I love that she puts on this, like, puka shell choker. Like, what is that?
There's you said you haven't seen The Guest?
No.
Should you? Have you seen The Guest?
I think I saw it a long time ago.
With Dan Stevens.
Yeah,
Yes.
it came up as, like, a recommended movie. And it's like, oh, I want to see this.
I also love it. It's also another very small, like, fun, weirdo thriller. But she has a reaction in that is one of that I remember seeing in the theater that just, like, destroyed and still makes me laugh, where the premise of The Guest is Dan Stevens served, I think in Afghanistan with this family's son, and who died, and he comes to their house, and he's like, I served with your son, and I just want to give him my respects, and they welcome him in, and like from the get-go, you're like, there's something wrong with this guy, and it, spins out from there. He's an attractive man, and she plays kind of this like mopey, kind of like gothy, almost like Bauhaus listening, like kind of teenager who's just annoyed that he's around. And there's a moment where she's pissed that he's in the bathroom, and he opens the door and comes out with like a towel, and he's like ripped, and her facial reaction is so fucking funny to it. And they just play it as being like, okay, yeah, this is the first time you've seen a man in your small Texas town that looks like this. And he comes out and he says, oh, sorry, and walks by. And I'm like, I think she's such a good, fun, understated actor when I think pointed in the right direction. I didn't see the second Independence Day movie, but she's in it.
Oh. I did.
Yeah, and I wonder if that doesn't serve her talents.
It does not.
Yes, that's what I would guess.
Oh, that's so fun. I think that also, the way you described it anyway, sort of mirrors...
By the way, it serves no one's talent. just like even Jeff Goldblum, not great at that movie.
Yeah. I think it kind of mirrors a moment in It Follows where it's like, have you thought about passing it on? And she's like, I don't, and like Paul looks up.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully.
Like, this little weird puppy dog. Yeah.
And then there's several moments where he's like, I want to help. She's like, do you? And it's like, yeah, he wants to fuck you. That's what he means when he's saying he wants to help. I mean, I think it's both. I think it's both. Help.
And I think that's too another.
When he sleeps on the couch, which is so brave, when he's like, I can stay over. And they're like, you're not going to be helpful.
Right.
What did he say? Like, if you stay over, like, the scariest thing will be you humping her leg or something. Yeah. And like he's trying to be like the man kind of in the situation, and it's so adorable.
And I keep coming back to it because it is so much like I think about high school and about growing up and like those interactions where like in most movies that would be treated as a like fuck you guys, like that would be a real but like
he takes it in stride.
He takes it in stride. He's like, yeah, I got to deal with it, like without undermining the fact that he's like, no, but I really would like to fuck her. You know what I mean? Like both are happening, and I just buy that as very real in a way that this movie makes me go, oh, it's so hard to do that because so much of that stuff is like underlined or pure abstraction, and you get you know what his want is, and you also know why he's sticking around, and that they are legitimately friends.
Right. There's like a closeness among all of them that feels very real and sweet without being saccharine.
And he believes her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like there's
which is
no
like
reason,
so important.
There's no reason for Yara to be in this movie. She's pretty funny, but like she serves no story purpose, and she's barely paying attention half the time. But
she's
like,
just off in the lake.
Yeah, just floating by. And
why
I mean,
do you think she is?
Might be for that moment, which is so good, where you see her coming down the path.
Oh my god!
And you're like, is that it? Well, it's Yara. I don't know. And then she floats by on the turnaround.
And then no one sees her too, because what's his name? Greg. All of my notes just say hot neighbor. Hot neighbor gets up and walks to pee, and he doesn't see her.
But you don't know it if.
And that's the moment for me when he walks by and doesn't notice her, where I was like.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments of her in the background. Like, there's like 2 moments before she's really clear where I'm like, oh.
Where you know it's that actress. Because I didn't realize it when I first.
No, I didn't realize. You see somebody moving in the distance.
Right.
In a theater, it's clear it's her right away.
Oh, interesting.
Just because it's so much. So it's like, okay, but then you spend the whole thing going, I think this is a fake out. Is it a fake out? It might not be. And I like that tension of going, oh, I don't know what it's going to do. Yeah. That moment, the inner tube moment, is one of my favorite moments, and then the big scare in it of the tall man coming through the doorway is such a good scare.
This movie really scares me. That's part of what I love about it, is it's really effective for me. Yeah. Of like my dog was on my lap for some of this, and then like 20 minutes in bailed on me because I wouldn't stop gasping at things, and she was like, you're stressing me out. But it's like I love the setup. The whole scene where he ties her up and he's like, you need to listen to me. These are the rules. This is what this movie is about.
Yeah.
And it's very clear, I think, that like he's done this before and he didn't tell someone the rules and they got killed. And that's why he has like this really elaborate setup now where he's like, you have to listen to me. This is what's going to happen. You have to spread it.
It'll come back to me. We don't know how he's put this together. It seems like he has more information than I believe.
He is the movie going, look, we got to get this out somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, and that's where I'm like, okay, if we just didn't know the rules at all, I could get by. But it's this weird straddling thing of him.
That's my interpretation though, of him saying, like, of him trying it before and like not telling the girls, and then they get murdered, which is what Hot Neighbor does.
Yeah.
It's like he clearly just has sex with some girls and doesn't say shit, and that's why he gets like 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, I never put that together.
Yeah, because then it cuts to, after they have sex, it cuts to him chatting up some girls at lunch.
Oh, I thought that was like a flashback.
Yeah,
to...
I'm not sure, but I think it's like, I think it's played as being like he sleeps with her and then he goes and flirts with other girls, which sucks.
Right.
But then also, is he purposely trying to pass it on? Then you find out he doesn't believe it.
That's what I thought, is he passes it on, because we have a similar scene after
I think he goes
Paul
and fucks
has
someone
sex.
else.
Yeah.
Because he's just an asshole.
Because that was part of my issue with the rules, is I'm like, why sometimes does it take forever to catch up with the person? But if he was sleeping with other girls, then that makes sense. Although I don't know why. Well, I guess maybe that's why.
What?
No, because she hasn't had sex with him yet. I was going to say, I don't know why it doesn't get her in the hospital. Like, that's easy.
Because it has to catch up from the lake. It's walking. Because they had driven really far away.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is like it'll catch up to you eventually, but like he says, it's
that's
not
part of what didn't make sense to
It's
me.
also crazy clear how much time is unclear how much time has passed.
Yeah.
This might be 48 hours. This might be a summer. Like it's very.
Oh, when she's in the
or just
whole
over
movie.
the whole movie.
Right.
Like I feel like I never have a great grasp of how much time has passed since the last thing I saw.
That scene, I think, feels so clear because she gets into an accident with a car. So what are they going to do? They're going to have to like walk over to get her, call the ambulance. At which point, definitely, this thing could catch up.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things why I support this movie is it's the Michael Myers thing of like, it doesn't speed up. It just keeps walking at the same pace. Like he says, it's not dumb. It's slow, but it's not dumb.
Right.
So like, it's always coming for you, but it doesn't hurry its pace.
But
even
still.
like when she's sitting at the beach and it's Yara coming up, you'd think like it could hurry up. She's right there. She doesn't see you, but it doesn't. It keeps its same pace the whole way. It's
I
never
still think
running.
it could have caught up with her.
I think that's
there.
the main place that car accident, like, if I want to try to justify it, it is whoever was in that truck gets her out of there. But that is, like, the main moment where I'm like, yeah, she only drove down a fairly long driveway. Where I'd be like, yeah, it probably could get there.
And they're panicking, having to get a phone or drag her to the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it could get her in that time.
But then the...
but we don't know because we don't see. We don't know how she gets out of the car.
It does a lot of like in the edits of being like, again, like this might be 2 days later, it might be moments later, where you just kind of like jump ahead. Mainly because it's an interesting movie where you're normally in her head.
Yeah.
You're normally seeing the world from her, but you do get glimpses from
you're
Paul,
like with Greg for a
from
moment.
Kelly, from Greg. You catch the world through these other people's eyes in an interesting way sometimes, but it's firmly Jamie's movie, and I think that is probably how they justify some of those edits. But it is kind of interesting when you do choose to go over this moment when Paul's sleeping in the car and they're kind of talking. I think it might be during the why don't you pass it on thing, and he wakes up and he kind of looks, and you're like, okay, yeah, we're jumping over to him now, but you're never with him enough to fully.
Right. And you never get that moment with Yara, really. You kind of get it with them as a trio when Jay's coming back.
Yeah.
But you're never just with her.
Yeah.
One thing, so my favorite parts are that opening scene / I think the scariest image is her dead on the beach. Like, nothing scares me.
You know what's
as
funny?
much.
That does nothing for me.
See, and when you're talking about, they're coming slowly and steadily, that does nothing for me. I'm like, I'm not scared
Tall
of you.
man
I
is
can
the scariest
run.
moment to
Tall
me.
man,
100%.
and then there's a bullshit jump scare that gets me every time, and even when
Oh,
I
is it
know
the
it's
ball?
coming, it's the ball.
The ball got me again, too.
And
I
the
knew
movie
it was
fucking
coming.
knows, and I know I've seen the movie I think 4 or 5 times, and like I know it's coming. The fucking ball's going to scare me, and then it hits the because I forget which bathroom scene it's in.
Oh, I knew
and
it
I think
was-
it's a later one,
I
and
knew
then the
it was
ball
that
scares
scene.
me
Yeah,
every
That's
time.
what drives me crazy because this is the 3rd time I've seen it, and like with lots of time in between each viewing. And Brad was like coming in and out while he was doing stuff, and he was sitting in for that moment. And I was like, I know the ball scene's coming. I know that. I was like, the reason why this movie is so effective to me is because he lays out the rules where he's like, it's following you. And then she doesn't buy into it right away, and she just goes home. And I'm like, you have to move. Like, you have to keep going. It's coming for you. I know it's coming. And like, do something. And then I know the ball scene's coming. I know it's going to scare me. It did it anyway, and it still scared me because because I'm easily startled.
And you're on alert. You're waiting for somebody to come get her.
And same with the tall man scene. I know it's coming. I even I was taking notes on my computer, and I lifted it up like this because I was like, I know he's going to come I know he's coming behind Yara.
Yeah.
And then she opens the door for her friends, and I thought it was going to be that time. Yep. And so then even then I was like, I know it's coming, and then it didn't come right away. And it still got
waiting
me.
for it.
The ball jump scare too is because the first time you see the movie, you don't know what way the movie's going to be scary yet.
Yeah.
Like so I remember seeing it might be it might burst through the window. I don't know yet that it's going to be this more like tense thing. So that ball comes early enough that it could be the thing. Like if that happened in the third act, it wouldn't get me as bad because I'm like, that's not what this movie does.
Yeah.
But at that point, you don't know. Like the big scare you had before was the leg, the horrible broken leg, and like that hard cut. So like it might be that type of movie.
And it's interesting because what you're laying out is basically the rules of the cinematic world. Like
Yes.
I'm annoyed that the plot rules aren't clear, but you're right that cinematically the rules are very clear.
Yeah.
So the ball is like a disruption of what ultimately are the rules.
And it's just thrown by those pervy neighbors that just like keep on her all the time.
Yeah, which later you see one like on the roof like looking in, and it's like, ugh.
So that's one of the neighbors. I was like trying to figure out. I was like, is that Paul? Is that?
It's the kids who are like when she was in the pool and she's like, I know you're there. And it does this weird, and again, like, I don't know if it necessarily means anything, but it like the camera does all this voyeuristic stuff, and that those pushes are both like obviously represent like the same thing as the monster coming towards them when you do all those pushes, but it's also there's a lot of stuff in the foreground sometimes when you're watching things, and it's kind of from far away, and I have no idea what the intent, if there was one, that's supposed to be for, but like those kids are part of that too, and I think part of it probably ties into how pretty she is, like in this like kind of depressed suburb. Even that shot when
she's too pretty to live here.
Yeah,
that like people don't like her almost. Like she's like excluded almost because she's so pretty that she's not like a person.
And the first time we see Greg, I think he's with another woman, and the other woman's like, "Oh, those people are such a mess."
Oh, that's the mother.
That's right.
That's
like,
his mom.
Yeah,
I thought he was in the car with like a girl.
I
mean, she is female, but
he's in the car.
But you're right.
He's in the car with the girl
another time.
when she runs out of the house
that's what
screaming.
I thought you were talking about. Okay,
but then
right.
earlier,
The house,
after the sexual or the assault,
right?
When the cops are there, he's
Now I know
inside
what
looking
you're
out his house window, and the mom says, "Like those people
They're
are such a mess."
That's right.
And like that's that weird, different type of voyeuristic. You know what I mean? Like that's interesting. And we don't know what's going on. Seems like dad's dead.
Not
and
around.
I think we never see mom's face. We just see her from behind.
We see parts of her face.
Yeah.
But we never see.
We never
get
a good shot of her.
She's always obscured.
And then she disappears from the movie fully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of seeing people from afar, like you were saying, maybe it was clearer in theaters, and I did see it in theaters, but I don't remember well enough to say.
I saw it at the Vista.
Me too.
Which when they go into like that vintage movie theater, and I'm at the Vista, I was like, I'm at the right place for this.
When she finally tracks down Hugh and we see his mom, I read that that's the woman who's like following her in the beginning when she's in the wheelchair, but I could not tell.
The naked lady. That's what I
went
read
back
too.
and looked, and I was like, I still can't see her face. I can't tell that that's her.
Yeah, I don't know if that. I think because that's the same thing with the dad. I didn't know the first time I saw it because I didn't notice the photos.
Right.
They do show a photo after.
Yeah.
I still didn't.
So that
I still couldn't tell. Yeah.
So that you can tell they're trying to be like,
See?
Did you get it?
And the other thing I've repeatedly meant to look up to see if this is true, but I don't know if it is, that I always think when I'm watching it, is when they find the photo of Hugh and it's him in a cheerleader. Is that
the girl
Annie?
from the Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know
because
either.
I've never followed through on the Googling.
Yeah.
Is that the girl from the beginning? It follows.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so that made me crazy, and maybe I just missed something. But they go to this weird house with Greg.
Oh, I do want to say right before all that stuff, I just want to say the first real she finds someone following her, the old lady, I think is so effectively scary, where she's in class.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a long shot of her just kind of sitting, and we see first the old lady coming across campus. And you get to see her come like a whole lot of the way across campus, and she walks in between these two people that are like on the grass, like studying or something. She walks right between them, and they have no reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is like,
and it's
so good.
It's such an interesting rip from Halloween, and also a shift. In Halloween, he's standing still, and that's what's terrifying.
Right.
And in this one, she's moving, and that's what's terrifying. But it is the same basic bit. I can't remember.
And then she takes off, and she's in the hallway, and the old woman's coming. And she's like, hello?
Right,
Yeah.
And those two girls don't notice the girl. They don't notice her.
Well, they can't see her. Yeah.
I know, but that's always like, and then that's kind of your thing later is like, do people notice? And I kept trying, especially like at the end, when you don't know if the one behind them is it or just a person. And there's that guy who's like doing yard work.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, I just want to see if he sees that person. Like to me, that's part of some of the rules is like you're always looking to see if other people see
Right.
that person there.
And there's the girl at the other school when they find out who Hugh is, when all those rotating shots.
I love those rotating
shots. And she's just
shots.
always, I don't think she's ever in focus until the very end, and they never even notice her. Like, only you as the viewer notice her.
I love that. I know that's like maybe an artsy, like, look at what I can do with the camera shot where it just keeps rotating and the music is so good. But like, as someone who studied film in college, I am like horny for that shot.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love it. It's so fun of like, where are we? Who are we following?
What are we going to see next?
They're not paying attention. Yep. I can see she's coming. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay, so about that picture of Hugh and going into this, why he just happens to open a book and there's a picture of him? Like, do they know where he lives? I'm confused.
That's the address that he gave her. Because she was like, I only know where he lives. I've never been because he says he's embarrassed.
Okay.
And
so he gave her an address?
Yes.
Yes. Because I think that was the implication was like it's weird not to pick I'll come pick you up. I live down there. So she goes. That's where the house they go to, which seems to be. It's unclear why he goes. My read of it is that's where he goes when the monster's after him.
Right.
Until
my
he's
take
passed
was
it on.
he wants to pass it on in a different town so that it's not close to him.
Right, but then why does he give her an address?
I think I don't know if she's picked him up because I don't think she has a car, but she says, I've been there, I've never been in. So I think she thinks he's like from the bad part of town. Right. And I think that's part of the deal that's going on there. So then they go back.
Because there is a little bit of like, why would you go out with someone if you didn't know? He's like clearly not from that town.
Well, I do wonder how they even met, but she doesn't know his last. Like, it's weird that you would know someone's address and not their last name.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are things that I didn't have a problem with. Like, logically, I'm like, okay, there's to be something that she knows about him for him to be safe to go out with.
One thing that does bum me about the movie is you said a movie in Detroit, and it's the whitest fucking cast I've ever seen in my life. And they have this little moment where they talk about it and how it's suburban and stuff. Mm-hmm. But man, it rings weird to me. Where I'm like, and I like all the actors in it. I think they're all good. But
why is it
feels
so white?
Either what a fucking blind spot or what choice did you make and why?
I think all the its are also white. There's no its that aren't white.
I mean, that's kind of better if you're going to have an all-white cast to not make just the bad guys.
Just the monstrous ghosts. Yeah.
But it does seem to be pointing out the disparity between the wealthy or middle and lower classes because you see the nicer homes and the dilapidated homes. And then they address
the
it.
Whole thing about why they can't go to the pool anymore.
But I don't know what that's saying either.
Yeah, and that's the one main thing where I'm annoyed that I don't know what they're trying to say because I don't think they're trying to say anything. And I think that what are you trying to say about relationships? I'm like, I don't care. Let me decide. But what are you trying to say? Like, there's real world representation, and gross voyeurism and stuff going on there a little bit to a certain point where I'm like, I do kind of want to know why we made these choices.
Right? Yeah. Have that.
Well, there's an interesting. She says like. My parents wouldn't let me come anymore, and they're like, neither would ours. Yeah. So there's a weird, like, our parents are trying to protect us from this, but not from this thing that's going to kill us.
Yeah, that's a good...
Like a weird priorities thing, because then the parents are never there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it still feels like it's somehow a comment on, like, classism or something, but that doesn't really
It feels like
anywhere.
an aborted attempt at something.
Yeah. Because then there's also the fact that the mother's like, they're a mess, also feels like a comment on... those people are trashy.
Right.
And it's also hard to navigate because the world isn't ours.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that, I think if it was a movie that was clearly in our world, we'd be able to parse that a little bit, but we can't tell what class structure her family's supposed to be in because they're all using old, outdated furniture and technology, but that is also the world, but it is now, but so I can't even use visual cues to go, you are saying that they are sort of like the quote trashy family on the block or not.
Because it's interesting to not have a dad for Greg and to not have a dad for them and just have one mother being like, they're trashy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it was just sort of pot calling the kettle black. Like the houses look really similar to me. It looks like they're the exact same upbringing. And so it's just wanting to draw a line. That same way when you hate a quality in somebody, it's usually because you possess that quality. So it's her going, they're bad to make herself feel good. Something about also the production design that I thought was really cool. And I screen grabbed it so we can post it on the Instagram if you want to see. But before she goes on her date with Hugh, There's this great pink color story, like her dress. There's this floral like lamp that's pink, the jewelry box, and it even looks like one of the walls is like an accent wall painted pink. I don't think it is. I think it's a trick of the light. And then later on in the movie, where is it exactly? It all looks blue, even though it's the same room. After
and
Greg
her underwear
dies,
in the chair, she's in that very like pink set. And,
when after Greg dies, the walls are like very clearly blue. I can show you guys if you're curious. First one, and this wall looks pink. Here, it's like all clearly
very
so blue.
Yeah, it's that dreamy, but you can tell that the walls are different colors still.
What do you mean? Here they look like the same color to me.
Oh, not to me. The one with the air vent looks like it's darker.
Really? They look exactly the same to me. I wonder if it's just the angle of you looking at it.
I don't know.
Here. I don't know. I wonder if they like actually painted it and we were like, this will be a subtle mood shift, or they just lit it differently, but it was cool to notice. Let
me pull back the curtain for 1 second and ask this question. You have so many notes written down in your what I think is a notes app there.
Yeah.
And then you have
you
have on your phone.
But yes, but then I always feel bad because I feel like it looks like I'm on my phone, I
just want to get a sense about this relationship between the two of you. Like, okay, so like, is one of you the notes one, and one of you color commentary?
I take a shit ton of notes, and my husband just did the episode, and when we were watching the movie for his, he kept going, "What are you typing?" Because I was taking so many notes.
She's doing it handwritten at first.
Oh, wow.
I used to do it handwritten, and then it was like I felt like a
rustling
serial
on the
killer
mic.
because I was like,
It really depends on the movie. Sometimes I have copious notes and she has very few, and sometimes it's the reverse. Yeah.
I know, and now I'm trying to be like, what else did I want to talk about? Because I just think this movie is so effectively scary in a way that I don't think all horror movies are. And I love the kind of scary it is because I'm scared the whole time I'm watching it. I'm on edge. Even when I leave the theater, I feel a little bit on edge, but I also feel weirdly protected because I didn't have sex with Hugh. I didn't have sex with her. So I feel like it's not going to get me, but also I'm on edge. I was watching this in my apartment yesterday, and I opened the blinds. I'm on the first floor to be like, I need to let the world in because it'll make me feel safer.
There's a naked woman walking across the street towards me.
And there was an old lady that stopped. She must have dropped something, but she stopped right at my window and bent down, and my dog just started growling at her, and I looked over and was like, why isn't she going anywhere? Why is she still standing there? And it was this it puts you on edge and you don't know who the monster is, and anyone can be it. And the only thing I don't like about that setup is where he says, it could be a stranger, it could be someone you know, whatever works to get close to you. And I just don't want it to be someone you know. I think it doesn't really benefit the movie when it's the dad.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it
because
better.
you didn't even know.
I mean, but finding that out, I like.
And it doesn't. To me, it doesn't benefit when it's Yara.
To me,
I
it's
like
almost
it
the
better
opposite.
being
I'm like,
a stranger.
why is it? It should just be consistent.
See, and
I don't know why
this is going to be an unsatisfying conversation because I'm right in the middle where I'm like, I love that it's inconsistent. I can't think of something that, let's say somehow I've stumbled my way into this It Follows world.
Yeah.
And I can't find the rhythm of what it is. Sometimes it's a naked stranger on my roof. Sometimes it's my best friend. Sometimes it's my dead dad. Sometimes it's just an old lady that I can tell is out of place. Like, I like that. That's part of what unnerves me so much is the refusal to commit to the rhythm of these things.
I mostly am with you. Where it loses me is that he says it's slow, but it's smart, and that it's going to use whatever it can to get close to you. And I think it would be so much more successful in killing Jay if it utilized that.
And that's why I don't like that line.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because I don't think it ever uses the people
I think his
that it
explanation
looks
is
like.
weird.
The fact that it's like
it does with Greg's mom.
Yeah. That's the one time we
but
really
she
see
doesn't.
it work.
But he doesn't even know that it's her.
Yeah.
He opens the door anyway because the thing doesn't
but he
talk.
could have.
But it could have been anybody at
Right.
the door.
Right.
It didn't need to be his mom.
But it could, like, if his door had been open or whatever. Like, it was smart to do it, even though
and
it
why
didn't
is
end
a
up
hot
mattering.
neighbor walking to get hot neighbor? Like, she looks down and she sees Greg in his
that I
underwear
loved, 'cause that-
walking into and breaking into the house.
But I think that that's smart because then if anybody else sees him breaking in, they're like, he
It's
lives
just
there,
Who
he
can
got
see
locked
him?
out.
Hot
Only the
neighbor
people
Greg.
infected can see him.
That's true.
Yeah. But as far as we can tell, Greg's been fucking a bunch, so who knows?
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Maybe the whole neighborhood
Yeah.
is going to know.
I love that.
That was one of my favorite shots, is him like all in white, barefoot.
And the way he
breaking
throws
into
the rock is just stilted enough.
Yes.
Like
So
where
yeah.
it's like robotic without being like real. Like you're just like, and then he just kind of like flops
Jumps
in the
in.
window, and which is also like, oh, there's glass everywhere,
Right.
And he
And he
just
doesn't
falls
care.
doesn't
Yeah.
care, and I'm like, that was so. If you saw someone smash a window in and then just kind of hurl their body in,
Right.
you'd be like, Jesus Christ,
Right.
that's a crazy person.
Yeah.
Well, because part of it, I guess, one of the theories that I had read early on that I liked was that, like, what do all these people have in common, the entities? And it's like one of them is naked. Well, a few of them are naked. But, like, the first girl's naked. And then you see the girl that breaks into their house has got, like, one breast out and she's urinating and she's beat up. And there's kind of an element of sexualness to all of them, or, like, maybe sexual assault, and there had been a theory that, like, maybe everyone had been infected by it.
Yeah.
And these were all previous people that it had killed. So then when it's like, and it's Yara, and it's the dad. I mean, maybe it could have killed the dad. But, like, it's Yara. There's something about that where I'm like, I just don't like it.
That's where I come back to, like, I think it is an active, like, I think it kind of serves two roles, maybe a little bit of a cheat of, like, one for the audience and one for the character of whatever's going to scare you.
Right.
And I think that is, like, for Jay early on in it, yeah, like this old woman who's visually out of place. What is this? This is upsetting. And then the woman missing teeth who's peeing on herself. That's horrifying to find in your kitchen.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, sorry, that gets
And
almost
Tall
less
Man,
scary.
very
And Tall Man
horrifying.
is so scary. Creepy kid coming in. But
Oh, yeah, the
Yara,
neighbor.
yeah, Yara at a certain point becomes scarier because, like, even if Jay saw her, like, it would.
She could just be like, oh,
and
my
then she
friend's
grabs
here.
you. That would be the scariest thing that could
I love
possibly
that scene where
happen.
it grabs
Yeah.
her, too, because it does answer that question of, like, but what can they see?
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
can't see her. So, like, what would they even
It's a great
notice?
30
Yeah.
seconds of
Yeah.
effects on the beach of her hair standing up,
chair.
like the chair. Yeah,
And then him
exactly.
just
pushes
flying.
him.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
all crammed in such a short period.
And then the
And
shot
it's
of
all
Greg is a
invisible,
laugh.
which is great.
Yeah.
The shot of Greg desperately trying to zip up to be like, what's happening
Yeah.
is legitimately very funny.
And she
Yeah.
shoots at the thing, and it almost hits Greg.
yeah, and he hides
he's like,
behind
what the
a
fuck?
beach
Shooting.
chair.
Yeah, right. That's going to protect
Yeah.
you. When she gets on the bike and she's running in that scene where you have the peeing girl and the tall man.
Oh, yeah, she's barefoot.
Yeah, she gets to the playground alone, and the shots of the woods around her scare me.
Yeah.
Just that feeling. It's also that sense of like
It's coming.
agoraphobia. And yeah, and it can come from anywhere, and it can be behind her, it can be ahead of her, and I always like the woods, and here I'm like, oh, this is scary. But the movie, the rest of it doesn't really scare me. Like the opening scene of her sort of contorted, like
Yeah.
we talked about, that's scary to me. But once I see someone slow, and I think maybe it's why zombies don't really scare me. Like somebody walking slowly after you is not scary to me. Psychologically, it's much scarier when it's your friend or your dad. Then it has like a very specific horror to it. But I'm not scared during
Oh,
this movie.
the Michael Myers-ness of it scares me because it's that idea of
And
like.
Jessica was like, I don't want to rewatch it. It's so scary. I was like,
This is one where, yeah, it does scare me. I feel scared talking about it right now. But there is the somebody running to me. It's like they're chasing you, and maybe you can outrun them or something. It's very human to like run after somebody. But the idea of somebody just walking slowly and being like, you can run and hide all you
Yeah.
want.
What do they
I'm
know
gonna
that
keep
you don't?
walking. Yeah, that's very. It's like so confident.
I also think a bit of that split too that like I like, but I think might bug you a little more. Avatar is like at the end, it starts just throwing like toasters at her when she's in the
Right.
pool together, and that's something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me,
no, but I did like that.
I go, oh, yeah, I thought I was gonna get in the water, like
Right.
So
it's-
then does it have a problem with water? Because there's so much of this movie that has bodies of water.
I think it just knows
They
she can
keep
get
going
away.
to the beach,
I think that's it's a like because it
That's
eventually
smart.
goes in, but I think that's sort of
but it
being
gets
like
pushed in.
yeah, but then just kind of like swims around and is fine.
Grabs her
grabs her leg. I think it isn't. I think it is that it's not dumb of being like it walks in. It's like well, she's in this pool for a reason, and I'm now going to try to. I just need to kill her.
Yeah.
Sometimes we become the person's mom and fuck them to death. Sometimes we throw an iron and hit them in the head and hope they drown. Like that to me.
No, I like that. There's a scrappiness.
Yeah,
that I like.
and it spooks me more. Being like,
Yes.
oh, it's not even like
Totally. It's much scarier to me than something slowly following
and
you.
it's also not a ghost story anymore. In the ghost story, the ghosts are just kind of the ghost does what a ghost does, right? You don't get a lot of like, okay, and now the ghost is fully changing how they behave.
Right.
And this does. I could see it bugging people, being
Right.
like, no, that's not what it
I
does.
feel like it should bug me, but it doesn't.
But for me, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking scary that you think, okay, I've understood the rules of this thing,
Right.
and all it does is walk towards me and then it will crush me or whatever. And then sometimes it's like, nope, this is the way I'm going to do this thing.
Right. See, to me, it feels like subverting the rules in a way that I think is interesting, and that would work better for me if the rest of the rules
Been
made more
steady.
sense. Yeah.
But that's why I don't like the naked man on the roof.
Naked Man on the Roof is the
Because it
biggest
always
break.
says
You're following.
walking.
Yeah.
And then it's stopped. And I'm like, but it's
Well, and
supposed to be
also-
moving. It should be moving.
It clearly has like an internal tracker, like it
Yeah.
knows where to
Yeah,
go.
it's got a compass.
So the only reason to be on the roof is like for a view,
Yeah.
to like
Well, or if
find
it's
her,
gonna-
but you know where she is.
If it was going to get in if she was on the second floor.
That's the only way I can justify it. And obviously,
As if she then ran downstairs and went out.
yeah, is that it was just they liked the image. Like there's,
Yeah,
there's
clearly.
Yeah.
truly no way. But if I wanted to bend myself into a pretzel to try and justify it, it'd be like they had said it like right before, like, oh, she's locked upstairs in her room and she won't come out for anybody. There's some line where like, Greg,
Oh, yeah,
like,
they say that to Greg because they won't let Greg
That's a
up
good
after his
justification.
session.
and that like, okay, well then you're gonna crawl up on the roof and smash in that window.
Right.
Like that's the only way. But again, no, they
Yeah.
just wanted how creepy it would be if you looked up on the roof and there's just a naked dude staring at
Which
you.
is
It
funny
would be creepy.
because I think it is creepy to everybody but me. To me, it's like almost this laughable moment where I'm like, why is this
Naked Man
on the
doesn't
roof?
get me as much.
Interesting.
And I do have a problem with nudity, only in the sense of like, it's come up a lot because it's in horror movies. When someone's naked and they don't have any like,
Self-awareness about
yes,
it.
Yeah.
of being naked, like in The Shining or in some of these. That always scares me because it's like,
So why
aren't
doesn't
they?
this?
I think because it is out of place to me.
Yeah.
That one shot feels
Yeah.
like it's not moving. Why is it there?
I also think it was because they've used multiple naked women as
That's true.
that they. I think they were like, we should have a naked man in here
Right.
at 2 because otherwise this
Parody.
feels like
Yeah.
we're doing some weird like nothing more scary than a naked woman slowly
Right.
walking towards you.
Yeah.
And I think they probably were like, let's mix that up.
Okay, question for you guys about, well, I don't know if it's a question as much as a statement, but I do feel like Hugh has this weird moral code, sort of, that he abides by. But then, like, you couldn't let her get dressed first or, like, throw
Yeah.
a blanket over her in the wheelchair. Like, I get that he maybe needed to sedate her to get her to take him seriously, but why can't she be clothed?
Yeah.
Well, he drops her off not clothed too.
That's what I'm saying. Why not, like, at least give her, like, he doesn't even, like, throw them out of the car after her. She's just there in her underwear.
because
think-
I don't think he fucking cares. He just gave her a curse. He doesn't care about her well-being.
Yeah, I think he preyed on her, targeted her, and doesn't actually care, and does that just to like justify his own behavior. And I don't think it would even occur to him that maybe this would be less traumatic for her if she wasn't strapped to a wheelchair in her underwear.
He only cares about her well-being concerning him. She has to stay alive because then I'll stay alive.
Right.
If she dies, it comes after me.
And probably it's also a way of sort of dehumanizing her for himself, so he doesn't feel as bad, if he would even, but
Mm-hmm.
feel as bad about what he's done. But I'm just like, God, it'd be so easy to just throw a blanket over her or give her her clothes
Well, they're in
back.
the car. I don't think they have a blanket.
But or give her her clothes back because she's just like lying in the back seat.
And he could have
He
prepped.
could be like,
He had a wheelchair.
yeah.
He could have.
He could have
just-
prepared
yeah.
with a sweater.
Come on by with something there. And be
Yeah.
like, okay.
Or just be like, hey, it's a little cold. Why don't you
Or
get
honestly,
dressed?
just like hold it for a little bit. Yeah, be like, okay, like we'll just hang out in this car, but I don't need
Yeah.
to chloroform you right now.
But he does. It's coming, guys.
It is
It's
coming.
slowly coming.
There's also a great like that one. I don't know if I know this the first few times, but like when she's there and she's like lying in the car and she's like fiddling with the flower or whatever, and she has her little monologue or whatever.
I love that part. It's so
in the
pretty.
background, you just hear the trunk close,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
just such a nice little sound design of it. The
I
movie
know.
doesn't miss it if it's not there. You're not like, where do you get the chloroform? But just when you know it's coming,
Yeah.
it just is awful. It's just so fucking awful to hear that ka-chunk.
Yeah. I wondered also about the use of that T.S. Eliot, the love song of Jail for Proof
Yeah.
Rock, when she's in class. And it also felt like sort of, again, kind of like with The Idiot, where it's just using it for that last line, that I am Lazarus, come back from the dead, come to kill you all. But I guess the movie is very fixated with how pretty she is. And
Yeah.
there's a lot in that that's like about fear, I guess about vanity. But that never seems like it's her flaw.
No, I might be wrong.
Okay.
And I might be conflating a couple different movies. Is Proof Rock what they're learning in Halloween?
No, they're learning Frankenstein, right?
I don't remember. There's
Maybe I'm thinking of Halloween
You know what? I
H2O.
might have it in my notes.
I know in one of them they're learning Frankenstein. Because it's like the monster's always waiting. But
I forget what they learned. Because I remember the first time I saw it thinking that was a specific connection to some other horror movie, but that was in 2014. There's also, around this time period, I feel like I saw a bunch of like, there were a bunch of good kind of like thriller, horror-y, lower budgety type of deals, and I might be pulling in from another one of them.
Okay, I wonder.
And they all reference, like, everything but The Witch is basically at some point being like, and like Carpenter did, they just all steal a little bit from it.
Yeah. But why do you think, I guess it could be a nod to another movie, but do you think it has any specific value for this particular story?
I don't know. I think there a lot of those like quotes. I do think that there was intent there of like, death is going to get you. Yeah. I think that's coming. Whether or not that is deeper than a Google of literary quotes about death or not, I'm not sure. Right. It might be as simple as what the people are talking about around her she doesn't understand is the same thematically as what she's going through. Or if this particular poem for this particular
this
reason.
Line. Yeah, I'm Lazarus. Because it was a teacher that I loved where I learned that, and so it has a lot of meaning to me. And then I get frustrated, being like, "You're just using this as commerce."
In the class scene.
Yeah.
That scene when she gets up to run out and the teacher's like, "Hey, where are you going?" I'm like, "This is college. They don't care where you're going. Like, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want."
Maybe she's got to pee.
Yeah, it's also the idea of just being like, you're walking out visibly panicked and in a rush. I would never be like, "Excuse me, what is happening?"
I love when they're all sitting with Hugh and it kind of mimics her playing with the flowers or weeds in the beginning when she's like tearing up blades of grass and just placing them on her leg.
Yeah.
I don't know why I love that so much.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I went on Reddit to see like were there interesting things that I forgot about, and one of the things on there said like, and this is if you want like a real deeper meaning, which is that's supposed to mimic like cutting. And then like later when she doesn't eat her food, that's supposed to mimic like anorexia. And then there's like a scene later where someone chooses pills in the hospital. They choose pills over something else, and that's supposed to be like drug addiction. All these things where it's like, I don't know if that's intended.
Yeah, that's like because I remember that's those 4 lines, but like on her knee too. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember going like, maybe, but the movie doesn't seem that interested in this. If that is what they're saying,
it's just something to me. It's very innocent.
Yeah, it does feel very kiddish.
Yeah. To me, it feels like what you do, how you channel your anxiety when you're stuck, and you can't just like walk away, or you don't want to just walk away, but you kind of don't want to be there. So you're like, I'll invest more in these blades of grass than in my than in the people around me. Mm-hmm. I really liked that part. A lot of like little moments that I loved. I just had a hard time with the story on a macro level.
I like most of the movie. I don't love the final act. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I do feel like it feels like a disruption in the flow of the movie. That like we have a plan and we're going to this pool and we have this whole thing set up. I don't know why it doesn't necessarily work for me, but it's not.
I honestly think that hits harder if it's a little less ambiguous. I think if that, because I think like we've got a plan and this theme kicks in and we're going to go do it and it doesn't work.
And there's a thunderstorm.
And they just have to run away.
Right.
I would probably think that works a little bit stronger, but you leave that going, well, I don't think they killed it, but I'm not sure. And
the first time I saw it, I definitely thought they killed it.
Yeah.
And that was what kind of ruined it for me. Because I was like, it was that easy? You just had to shoot it again?
Yeah. Because I think the movie doesn't work if they kill it. So then, and I think like he won't say, but like he's pretty clear, like, no, it's still alive. And I think a little more clarity there that like, no, there's a way to do it that's just that bummer ending I was talking like before where I don't like that. Mm-hmm. But there's a way to do it of being like, no, of course this bad plan of throwing electric typewriters into a pool doesn't work. And then they run away and then you go, okay, we can't stop it. What now? And again, like, I think that ties into what I like about it. And we accept it and I can't do this alone. And we're like, like.
No, I like that a lot more.
Because I'm like, keep running. Go to Europe.
Yeah.
Like, how long is it going to take it to catch on a plane?
That's what I was going to say. That's why I don't buy that there's just one and it keeps walking. It's like, you could just move.
That's the other reason why I think the
director
class
said
is a issue. Like I think if I could understand their financial situation more, it is like, I think Detroit, like he set stuff in Detroit, but like that matters to me of being like, if you make it clear that these people can't just get on a plane and leave,
right?
Then the horror hits a little bit harder. And I love all the visual design, and I love how like, you don't know when and where it is in the dreaminess, but it cuts that. And I think that's the idea is like, no, that's not an option for these.
Right.
Like that's why, Hugh goes and like, when he has to hide out, goes in this burnt out place with like old porn and just like, because where the fuck else are you supposed to go? I buy that thematically. I just think some of the cool design gets in the way of it.
Yeah. I don't buy that it can walk that fast at that pace all the time. I wish that it was just like, it appears, you don't know. Plus, like, where is Hugh getting this information that it's always just walking to catch up with you? Because otherwise, I mean, maybe they can't hop on a plane, but they can drive really, really far away. Yeah. And it's still going to take forever to walk.
Well, that's what he says. If you go far away, it'll give you time. He says that in his rules.
Yeah, but it still walks faster than...
I was thinking about this last night when I was watching. I was like, okay, yeah, what would I do? And I was like, you go, okay, I get on a plane. I'd like, move to Japan or whatever. But then you go, well, does that take years for it to get to me?
And then I forget.
And then I just have no, like...
How can you forget? You're not going to forget.
But you won't know the approximate time. Like, I wouldn't know how to calculate how long would it take a ghost to walk under the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
So then, is it weirdly better to go, I can just stay moving and know it's always like a day away from me versus...
Right.
It might show up in 6 months. It might show up in 5 years, and I will be fully unprepared, and I'll just die at that point. Like that. Like I honestly don't know. And again, the movie doesn't really ask, but I was thinking about that for a while, being like, yeah, because you would let your guard down at a certain point.
Right.
You'd still remember, but you would just have no idea. Whereas if I was,
well, and no one will believe you, so then you start to be in denial. Like maybe it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gone. Maybe.
Whereas here I'd be like, oh, I'll go to Santa Monica, and I bet I've got 12 hours or so.
Yeah.
Like, and I would know that.
Timer.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you don't know, like you're saying, it takes too much time or it's too fast or whatever. But there is something to where we don't know how far away they're driving. We don't know how long things are happening. It's part of the dreaminess of it, of like, you can't really say that because you don't know. Maybe they only drove an hour away, and then this is 7 or 8 hours later. It's caught up. Like, there's a weird thing of like, I get that that's your feeling, but you can't back it up.
But also,
which is part of why the movie I think is somewhat successful, is because you can't be like, well, clearly they were in San Diego and that's this far away and it was this long ago.
Yeah, but they could also make it clearer in the way that you're describing. It can be more clear that they only drove an hour and this is 5 hours later. Like, it is very dreamy, and sometimes I think it really works for the movie. And for me, in those moments, it works against the movie because I'm like, this feels too convenient for something that is only walking at a very slow pace. And also, why make that rule? Just let it appear.
Oh,
it's
see, I don't like
supernatural.
that idea of like it just appearing. That would undercut the whole movie.
That to me is just like makes more sense. Because
I also love when she's in the boathouse hiding and it comes in one way and she exits, but she goes like by where it was like going in, and it doesn't like change course. It's like, no, I'm on this course that's set to follow her, and it's like, just because she's coming around me, I don't exactly turn. I keep going on my path. There's something that I just like about the rule of that, of like, it's on this compass. It's like on the GPS. It's not changing.
It's not updating its route.
It's not doing that bullshit thing I hate GPSs do, which is like rerouting.
I do like it more knowing that that's her dad at the end. For some reason, that's like more fun to me. Because also when the sister says, "What do you see?" and she's like, "I don't want to tell you." I'm like, you've seen so many more scary things than this.
Yeah.
And I love when they throw the fabric over it.
Yeah.
And they see it. There's like some cool stuff with the invisibleness. That I feel like the movie nails.
This is the smallest thing. I love how shitty that beach is. I love that you have no idea what time of year it is.
Yeah.
And, like, everyone's in these, like, tiny shorts hanging out at the shittiest beach, what looks like 50 degrees out. Like, I don't know why anyone's swimming in this horrible weather. And, like, I love, like, that dreaminess again, too. Like, that really kind of amuses me of just being like, yeah, you know what? Like, again, young teen, like, just fucking go sit in a shitty park because where the hell else you're going to go? And, like, Yara's in the tube. Yeah. Because what are we going to do?
And then later when she takes off her clothes and goes in to try to infect those people on the boat.
Yeah.
Wait, you think she's going in to infect those people on the boat?
Yeah. She's going to go fuck them.
I think she goes fuck those guys.
Because then the next scene, her hair's all wet as she's driving home.
I thought she just goes into the water and it's like a moment of freedom and
no, she sees two men on a boat.
I see. I remember.
She's like,
I think she
I'm
swims out
hot
to the
as
boat.
shit.
But then...
To buy herself time.
She buys herself some time.
Huh. That's interesting. I did not.
Because that's right after Greg died.
Yeah.
Right.
So she's like, it's real, I got to pass it on. Because I like the hesitation. She hesitates so much before she has sex with Greg. And then when all that happens and she sees him get fucked to death, that, like, wakens her up to be like, I don't want it to fuck me to death. I got to fuck some other people to death.
I thought it was just this moment of her sort of kind of, again, talking about the inevitability of death and just enjoying the time you have. And so I'm going to go for a swim. Although I was like, you have a cast. That's bad. Don't get that wet.
I'm so tense in that movie being like, you can't put your cast in the pool.
What are you doing?
You're going to have to reset the whole thing.
I do think that's funny. The implication to me on all of these with Greg cutting to him with the women.
Sex between the lines.
Her getting in there. Paul driving by the hookers. Yeah.
Oh.
To me, those are all the implications that they're passing it on.
I thought the prostitutes were just like, again, sort of weird comment on classism. I'm like, why are they lingering on these prostitutes?
Because each of these
so
shots
long?
is after something.
I think it's they're going and buying time. And there's a jump,
sense.
and I'm not entirely sure. I go back and forth on it where after she goes potentially to the boat and she goes back and then they cut up to her bedroom and stuff, there's that shot of that sandwich again, and it has mold on it now.
And you think that's like...
I think it's a time jump. I think it's I think the movie's purposely like, you don't care how long this takes. But I think it's they seem to have settled in because I think she bought them time.
Oh, that's cool.
It
also makes them worse people, but it's cool.
And I think it's specifically like, it's a tiny boat, but I think probably the idea was they're out on a boat. Are they safer?
Yeah, we don't know how good of a swimmer this thing is.
In the end, we kind of find out pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
As good or better than me.
Yeah.
Probably better than walking.
Yeah.
The cut from the pool, like, again, because I'm liking it more as we're talking about it. And the visual of the pool filling with blood is very satisfying. But yeah, to me, it does suggest they've defeated it. And that feels so arbitrary. And so I do wish, like you said, that there was a little more of them having to run out of there versus the way it cuts is like, we're victorious and now we're just going to stroll down the sidewalk.
I think if I could tweak one thing, I would have, and I think it could even be, I think you can still do the pool with the blood and they just get the fuck out of there. I would love one line of it's still coming.
Right.
You know, just
but I think
one
that's
line.
the having sex and putting a chair under the door.
Yeah. I think they tried
and
to
then him
visualize
going
it.
to prostitutes is like that. Fucking Paul's not going to a prostitute unless he's scared for his life.
Yeah. Also, he looks so dweeby driving that huge-ass car. Like, he just looks like a little kid stole a car.
I think for me, the
I
pool
love
would have
his
worked
casting.
if, like, the blood then, like, almost went in reverse, like, sucked back into the guy.
That's
and
what
he
you
came
like.
out.
You want to see them leaving, like as they're like walking out. All of a sudden, we see it, but they don't see it.
I'm a little bit like, I would love to just see them leave and just see what is their headspace right when they get out of that fucking pool. Because that was a disaster. One of them just shot their friend.
Yeah, it cuts to her in the hospital.
And which I get they want to condense the time and we're wrapping up the movie, but I do almost want to be like,
that's a good spot to have just a couple more minutes.
Just a moment of them going, like, I don't think maybe you don't need dialogue. Maybe you just need a silent car ride.
Right.
And then you go on as is.
Yeah.
Oh, then you could have a funny line in the car where Yara's like, what do we tell the hospital?
Yeah.
Because she's a gunshot victim.
Yeah.
Or just glancing in the rear view with panic in the car helps.
I think there's it's like one missing shot. And again, like, I love this movie, but I do feel like that, because I don't think that makes it so clear that you can't take what you want from it.
Right.
But I do think it goes, it just underlines what I think it's saying is coming. You know what I mean? I think it just makes it a little bit.
As opposed to the potential interpretation of just, well, that one gunshot really did it. You know? It's also funny to me that Yara's shot in the leg and Kelly is like cradling Jay. Like, it's okay. Meanwhile, their friend is like bleeding out 2 feet away.
And then also like in the hospital for seems like a good amount of time because they're feeding her and stuff. And you're like, I don't know, she got shot in the leg. I think she's fine. Like, that feels like an outpatient situation to me.
Well, I appreciate that you guys kind of helped fill in some blanks for me. I like it more than I did. Especially, I think I was like annoyed watching it this time because I was like, and then I know they're just going to beat it in the pool. And why does that happen? That sounds like jerking off.
Yes,
in the
it
pool,
did.
But
Yeah, absolutely. There's no other way to interpret what you said.
Defeat it. Defeat the it that follows.
Yeah.
I think it's a great, this is a great idea for a low budget thrill ride. Like,
that is, I do wonder if this cost like $50 million, I bet I'd have some different opinions. And it would be a different movie. But like, just being like,
they pulled this off. For
high
so
premise, and they just kind of gun it, and they do it, and it is, I think, not exploitative, and I think it has a lot of opportunities to be. There's like some male gazy stuff, but like not like, again, like a lot of horror movies, it's not what you. Again, if I pitch the movie, you have sex and the thing comes and kills you. Not knowing it, I would guess a lot of things about what the movie would be.
That's true.
And it's none of them. And I think
And
that's
it's effective.
remarkable. Yeah.
Like, to me, we've done I don't know how many movies we've done so far, but more than 20 so far we've watched. And this is one of the top scary ones for me. This one scares me. It's effective. As far as, like, the physical act
Scarier
of
than
scaring
Chopping
me.
Mall?
Oh, somebody looked up some of our
Yeah,
movies.
that's right, Mono.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as, like, I'm not, like, scared now. I'm okay, which I like about it also. Thank you. But in the moment, the physical reaction of making me jump, this movie does.
If you are anybody in this movie, who are you?
I mean, look, I'm probably tertiary Yara who just gets shot in the leg at some like just is vaguely invested and then gets shot in the leg.
I thought you were going to go Paul just because you were like talking about being the nerd in glasses.
I think
scientist.
I think Paul is yeah. I think I would probably at a certain point have to assert some sort of like Paul is a little too sad for me. I think at some point we're just like, gosh, he's so puppy doggy the whole way through. At a certain point, I'm like, Paul, man, like you're really bringing down the room.
I don't know why this just reminded me, but before we ask Jessica the same question, what do you think it's about where so early on when the creeps are sort of watching her floating around in her above ground pool, later we see that same pool and it's empty.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the passing of time.
I think it's more weird time. That's why I'm like, I don't know
it's
if
another
this is supposed to be a
season.
seasonal shift and they just shot the whole thing over 2 weeks.
Summer's
I don't know.
over.
But I do.
But it's not like
but it's broken.
deflated and taken
It's straight
down.
up
Yeah.
broken. Yeah, I don't know. But there's also like one of those like vacuums you use to pull the water out in it. So like,
Okay.
I
didn't
honestly,
catch that.
it might. I think it is an attempt to go. They bought themselves some time, but what do you do?
Gotcha.
But it is really weird because it looks like. In this movie, it looks like was she in the pool and it came through the wall of the pool? What happened?
Right.
Like it does look
That's
like
kind
that.
of what it looks like. And also what you guys were saying about her swimming out to the boat to have sex with these guys makes sense. The way I was seeing it was like she kind of starts off in this like contained body of water that's safe.
Oh.
And as she becomes less safe, she goes out into like the
big open,
yeah.
whatever that is.
And then like the safe version is destroyed. Like that's not even an option anymore.
Yeah. Oh.
Again, looking at the metaphors that you love so much, Jessica, who are you in this movie?
Paul. I think of all these people, I'd probably be the sad, like, the person that's like, I'm just gonna, if you need something, I'm just gonna be right here, and I'll die for you. I feel like that's probably what I most relate to.
Yeah. I don't know.
And he believes her right away, which I think I would do.
I'm stumped. I guess
It's
maybe
tough a little bit because they're not really tropey character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they really, they're a little opaque at times.
Yeah. Maybe I'm the sister because she works at an ice cream shop and I like to eat
yeah.
ice cream.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Do you have siblings?
Yeah. I have 3 brothers.
Are you close to them?
Yes and no. They're like my favorite people in the world, but I barely get to talk to them.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister. It's like 5 years younger than me. Lives in San Francisco. And she's lovely. Just spent 2 weeks with her over the
Oh,
holidays.
that's nice. In New Hampshire?
In New Hampshire.
Cool.
But that was because she seems like a real like nice, loving. Like they have a really nice relationship in this movie.
Yeah.
I think that when they're like cuddling in bed, just kind of like because
Yeah.
she's scared. I'm like, oh, that seems nice. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Normally I feel like more connected to somebody in particular, and instead I'm just like, oh, she works at an ice cream place.
Yeah. Ice
Not
cream.
even though I think, I like the characters. I don't
Yeah.
particularly feel like any of them.
Yeah, and I think it is like, I mean, again, like their wants are, like there's this weird tension around all of them, this weird sexual tension, and then
Yeah.
like you don't learn much else about them, and for
Right.
some reason I don't mind, but there
Yeah.
is not sort of be like, oh, this part of that person, like I think probably maybe someone's a Paul,
Yeah.
and then beyond that you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Paul's like very clear. I mean,
Very clear.
I think he is nuanced, but he's probably
Yes.
the most tropey of them.
And I would think literally every person on earth had in high school at some point been a Paul of being
Right.
like, I'm in love
Had a Paul, been
with
a
this
Paul.
person and
Yeah.
I'm around them all the time because we go to school together and this feels so fucking bad, but also I legit
then he
like
kissed
being
her
around them.
sister.
He kissed her, yeah. And I was like, they didn't say the age of that. Like I was like, is this
Yeah.
like 11-year-old or is this
Right.
like, what is this? 'Cause
Right.
you don't know. Like it
You
might
don't
be.
know. And how far apart was it?
Yeah.
How did he kiss Jay, and then how did he kiss Kelly?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that we don't know if that was like, was he gross or was it just like idiot 13-year-old,
Right, was it
14-year-old, but
truth
they're
or
still
dare?
holding on to. Yeah, exactly.
Spin the bottle?
Yeah, they don't tell you
'Cause
because
I
they're all
remember-
pretty cool with it. Like they're
Yeah.
like, well, it's not going to happen because that was gross, but also like it's not like we're not friends.
Right. I remember I have somebody that I think of as my first kiss. Because, we sort of used tongue. We were like figuring it out.
Yeah.
But somebody else has told me that I was their first kiss, and it precedes my first kiss, but it was spin the bottle or truth or dare, and it was like truth or dare, and it was a peck.
Yeah.
It's like so it's weird also what a kiss means.
Which is, I think, again, like I think probably pretty universal from a lot of kids, and like that's
Yeah.
kind of like them not defining it in this movie again is why I think it's very accurate teen horniness of being
Yeah.
like it might have been a peck when they were 14, and it still fucking matters to them
Right.
now, and be
or they
like,
might have just slobbered all over each other
Yeah.
because they don't know what else to
yep,
do.
it doesn't seem like it was anything particularly great for
Right.
either situation.
They remember it because it was like the first time, but
Yeah.
otherwise probably
Unremarkable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Do you want to promote anything, like your social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at Fernie, Alex. I'm gonna promote my wife's podcast.
Oh, that's
'cause
so
I'm gonna
nice.
be a nice husband. She has a podcast called This Particular Album is Very, Very Important to Me. She hosts with Joel Spence, where they have people come on and talk about albums that were like defining to them. And they had like Weird Al talk about Devo and Nicole Byer and Lauren Lapkus and Ty Burrell and a bunch of
Oh,
fun guests.
great.
And I think it's legitimately good.
That's awesome. You're the second person to do this, and it's so sweet.
Really?
We did The Witch with Lucia, and she promoted her girlfriend's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah, that is very nice. Oh no, her girlfriend's Kickstarter maybe, but same kind of idea. Can you tell people why they should give us 5 stars and leave us a nice review?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One, it's just a decent human thing to do if you're getting free content. And two, it's just so you can show off your like really great, funny iTunes name that obviously you all have. Everyone wants to see how funny you were in creating that name in 2003.
Don't be a Hugh. Throw a
Yeah,
blanket
don't
over
be a
us.
Hugh. Yeah.
And
Be somewhere between a Paul and a Hugh.
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
words of wisdom. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. That's so fun.
That was so fun having you.